Tom, and very good afternoon to everyone. Today we are from Group 19 want to present our sekolah, which is Santizu. And this is my group member, Muhammad Azri, I am Muhammad Afizul Bari, Muhammad Ahmad Takiuddin, and Muhammad Nur Akbar. Okay, next we can see the details of Santizu. Santizu other name which is Sanwu, and also we call Sanzi, which the name Santizu means in ancient Han Chinese called Grandmaster. Then the records of the Grand historians claim Santizu lived in era called as the Spring and Autumn period of China. It date between 770 before centuries and 476 before centuries. The art of war is frequently quoted as the go-to source for those involved in guerrilla warfare. Historians, psychologists, and experts of history believe that Sun Tzu was a Chinese general who served as a war strategist and military leader. He is also famously known for the book Art of War, an influential work of military strategy that has affected Western and East Asian philosophy and military thinking. The most well-known story about Sun Tzu is his abilities to train her harem of 180 concubines into soldiers. Okay, next we can see the story, The Art of War. The Art of War is a military treatise written by the Chinese strategy, which is Sun Tzu in the 5th century. Then it aims to instruct commander on how to plan, mobilize the attack, and protect and handle the defeat, including all phases of warfare. It has been used by military strategy for over 2,000 years, becoming one of the most influential texts in history. The Art of War consists 13 chapters covering various aspects of warfare from strategy to diplomacy. Then, Sun Tzu recorded words on military strategy proved so insightful they've been used by many nations such as Japan, North Korea, and Vietnam, and many more. Then the ideas become a staple of Japanese military philosophy as firm as China's own, and no doubt influenced battle plans to include the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. Next, the Art of War is frequently quoted as the go-to source for those involved in guerrilla warfare, as much the guidance applies to deploying force with imagination and audacity based on a strong prior understanding of the terrain and adversary, withdrawals and counter-offensive, and the value of psychology. Okay,
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Muhammad Azri bin Shabu and my metric number is 259220. Okay, next we go for the 1.3, which is application of management theory. Sun Tzu had introduced 13 principles of the art of war, which is the first one is chapter 1, laying plan. In this chapter, we talk about the planning and preparation, and in this topic also, it tells about to think carefully before engaging a war. Besides that, sometimes we must avoid the conflict if we see that our enemy have more advantage, or we saw that we will lose if we continue our action. Okay, for the fourth one is it is focus on the way. Lastly is we need to make sure our opponent blind with our true state. Okay, and next is other consideration. There is 7 other consideration that Sun tell that we can make a comparison with our enemy, which is the first one is ability of the employee to motivate, and the second is manager capability to lead. The third is ability to adapt with a surrounding, and the fourth is we could compare which business structure is more effectively and efficiently, and the fifth is availability of technology of the staff, and sixth is training and level of skill, and lastly is administration of reward and punishment. Okay, next we go to the chapter 2, which is waging war. In this topic is focused on importance of decisive behavior, correct timing and economy in our action. Before embarking in any venture, we can minimize challenge, conflict and ensuring cost by focusing on logistics of any plan and prevent our extension of our company resources. Besides that, we also can maintaining organization morale and keeping the employees motivated and well resources. And that also, Sun Tzu also have provided us with a clever tips, which is if we are low in a cost and want to save, we can focus more on exploiting our competitors' weakness rather than throwing more money or resources at the problem. And lastly, for this chapter is about to use the resources wisely and not recklessly. Okay, we go for the next chapter, which is chapter 3, attack by stratagem. In this chapter, you can see that it tells about victory can be achieved through careful planning and understand enemy. Sun Tzu also have described that the strategy that we can use in war, which is the first strategy is if our forces outnumber the enemy largely, which that is 10 equal to 1, we can surround them. For this situation, in business, you can say like assuming that we have adequate resources to cover the market and try for a mutual approach. Okay, for the second strategy is if our forces 2 times more than enemy, we can split the enemy and fight them. For this situation in business, it's like a divide and conquer approach may work. Okay, for the third one is if our forces have equal number, which is 1 on 1, we can fight head on them. For this situation, it's like a price war. And for the fourth one, if enemy is more than us, better is to hide. But if the enemy is outnumber us largely, it's better for us to escape. For this situation, for example, it's like Asia, which is company Malaysian low cost airline. The price of their ticket is cheaper compared to their competitor, which is Malaysian Airlines, such that Malaysian airline ticket is pricey, and this become their weakness. And Asia use this weakness can provide a low fare to people. As the result, Asia can attract more customer than Malaysian Airlines. The next is chapter 4, disposition of military strength. Sun Tzu has described when should we advance and force the battle. In these phases, it's about emphasize defensive behavior. Besides that, Sun Tzu also tell that we can strengthen our defense, and because of it, we are able to adapt to the changing market. And this strategy is being used by many companies. And before that, this also is important especially for the leader or the top management, that who must make a prediction on future trend. We can take for example, in this situation is like Apple. You can see that Apple, company of Apple, they have produced many products such as iPhone, iPad, and iPod with their unique product, but they have a strong place in market, even though their competitors have produced more product than them. Okay, for the next we can another example is like McDonald's. They strengthen their defense by having some innovation on their product, which is you can see, for example, like they keep update on their menu, and another example is like they have seasonal products such as prosperity that only sell during Chinese New Year. Okay, next is chapter 5, process or use of energy. Managing a massive army is just like managing a small one, but Sun Tzu have focused on dividing them up and knowing each of their purpose, such that we must push and pull this unit to effectively attack. With this, we are able to alternate method generate momentum and ensure sustainable result. For example, we must not, in organization, we must not rely on any one person only, but we must focus on unity of the team. Next is chapter 6, weakness and strength. Sun Tzu have helped us, which is the concept of spot the best opportunities for attack, weakness in opponent, and the position ourselves in the most advantageous way. Besides that, Sun Tzu also have described that those who arrive first at the battleground will have a sufficient time to rest and prepare against the enemy. It means that in the business world, we can see that it's better for us to be the first one. For the example, in this concept, it's like a company of Toshiba. Company of Toshiba is they have created the first Japan electric products such as electric fan, refrigerator, washing machine, electric vacuum cleaner, and electric rice cooker. And this make them this is their strength, and Toshiba have found that is the best opportunity that others don't see. Next is we can see that in this topic also it tell about it is advantageous position for us if we make an ally. With an ally or partner, we can produce more strategies to attack or defend if our enemy attacks us. For example, it's like Yahoo. They have made a collaboration with Toshiba to feature Yahoo Connected TV. Chapter 7, Maneuvering. In this chapter, it discusses about the strategy, making command, and order of physical army. It will explain the danger of direct conflict and how to win those confrontations when there are forces upon us. Sun Tzu also has said that maneuvering with an army is advantageous, while if commanding an army that disobey will bring the ruin. Example, during that time, during Sun Tzu, he has executed two of King's favorite concubine because did not follow his order. It same goes to the management, which is employee must listen to the leader or to the management to avoid damage or mistake. The next is Sun Tzu also have give his suggestion, which is idea of verification of way to communicate. During that time, Sun Tzu have used the technique which is during at night, he will give a command to army using torches if at night, and the amount is a little, but if the amount is many, they will use a drum. This also means that in the business concept, we need to have a clear communication and not only use the same technique for all situations. Besides that, we also must make sure that person in organization is well prepared before we push to war or enter the market. The next is chapter 8, variation of tactic. In this topic, we talk about the needs, versatilities of mind. Besides that, the leader who truly understands the advantage that accompany variation of tactic knows how to handle his employees. Besides that, there is 5 ways that the general can fail when deciding the tactic, which is the first one is being reckless and impatient could lead to destruction. The second is being a coward and fearless lead to eventual capture. The third one is the hasty temper, which can be provoked by insult. And the fourth one is the delicacy of honor, which is sensitive to shame. And the lastly is over solicitude for his men, which exposes him to worry and trouble. Okay, next is chapter 9, the army on the march. In this topic, we can learn about the ability to read our environment correctly and focus effectively based on the current behavior of our competitors. Besides that, Sun Tzu also described that there is a specific strategic role that he used during that time, which is stand in a higher place and facing sun, having a high ground when facing enemy, and if our opponent, which means they have a stronger defense. So this topic also tells that a secure position strategically provide a solid basis for the effectiveness. The example that we can take is a situation like a company with a relationship with the business holder and the project leaders. They can listen and try to understand first before they make any decision. And this is related to the ability to read the environment correctly. Okay, next we go to the chapter 10, which is terrain. In this chapter is tell us how to read the terrain and benefit fighting of each of it. Next is help process information so manager can determine a successful courses of action based on real knowledge of the scene of the action. Next also, Sun Tzu has distinguished 6 kinds of terrain, which is accessible terrain, intangible terrain, deadlock terrain, inferior terrain, rocky terrain, and lastly position at a great distance from enemy. Okay, next is 9 natural factors that can causes harm to the army, which is the first one is enemy outnumber can lead to retreat. Second is incompetent officer or leader. The third one is a weak wise soldier. The fourth is officer acting without orders. The fifth one is the disorganization, and lastly is poor tactic choice. Next is chapter 11, the 9th situation. This is the situation an army might find themselves in. Okay, there is 9 varieties of ground, which is the first one is dispersive ground, which means don't waste too much resources campaign because there is fighting their homeland. Okay, second is facial ground, which is keep pushing aggressively early in the campaign as long as nothing get in the way. And the third is contingency ground. Either side can gain a great advantage by taking particular place. Don't engage too aggressive until we get a clear advantage. And the fourth is open ground, which means both sides have complete freedom. Okay, for the fifth one is the intersecting ground. It means that multiple states or constitutive have interest, as this is our chance to make an ally. For the sixth one is the serious or heavy ground. It means that a many effort was required to secure this territory, and we are in a precious position. And the seventh is difficult or interruptible ground, which means difficult condition in which to operate. We must keep going and don't stop until we are in a safe position. And for the eighth is a hammered in or enclosure ground. This means that difficult to extricate oneself from this situation. And then ninth is the lastly is a desperate ground. This means that not easy possible. Once we enter, we have to stick out and give it everything we have. Okay, for the chapter 12 is the attack by fire. There is a tell that there is a 5 way to use fire, which means the way we use to attack. The first one is a burning enemy soldier in their camp, which means in the business term, we can attack our opponent by poach their personnel. Second is burn enemy store, which means we attack our competitors' financial investment. For the third is burn their supplies while still in transit, which is we attack their logistic line of supply or kill off their suppliers. And the fourth is burn weapon and armor, which means attack their cash cows and sources of revenue. And the last bit is burn line communication, that is we attack their operation. Okay, and lastly is chapter 13, which is use of spies or intelligence. Use of spy or intelligence or for knowledge would be a more efficient, and there is about 5 types of spies, which is a local spies, live in opposing nation or group. Second is international spies, which is they're making a use of official of the enemy. And the third is double agent, which means getting hold of the enemy spies and using them for our own purpose. And the fourth is dome spies, which is a pass for information into enemy. And the lastly is live or surviving spies. That means those who bring back news from the enemy's camp. So we can see that the best pick in invested in our organization, as this is the key to enemy victory.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Nur Akram bin Hamidun, and my metric number is 259294. So I will continue to talk about the benefit in the Art of War written by Sun Tzu. So the first benefit that I found is leadership. Leadership is the important character in the Sun Tzu strategic ideology. Leadership also considered one of the most important fundamental in the art of war. It takes not only knowledge for a leader to effectively implement Sun Tzu strategic ideology, but character also is the important point. Without possessing adequate character, a sense of self-awareness and appreciation and empathy toward others, such as emotional intelligence, one cannot align the team on the right path and deliver meaningful value to customers in the long term. Sun Tzu once quoted that the side that has superior and subordinate united in purpose will take the victory. For example, outstanding leaders would be able to unite their force, set guidelines, and lead their people to victory. The same idea applies in the corporate world, as capable leaders will lead his or her company to prosperity, while weak leaders will stifle his or her organization. Leadership also need to create vision and plan. By creating vision and plan, then seeking to encourage and inspire subordinates to seek and accomplish them. Business leaders need to lead by action, not just through by words, to inspire workers to strive for greater success. According to Sun Tzu, a commander partnership with his troop would be successful when instructions are regularly trustworthy and observed. The next benefit is knowing the enemy. It is said that if you know your enemies and know yourself, you will not be attacked in 100 battles. If you do not know your enemies but do know yourself, you will be win one and lose one. If you do not know your enemies nor yourself, you will be attacked in every single battle. The next point is generals should be adept the military calculus. Sun Tzu taught that generals should be adept at the military calculus of considering anything and everything that could affect the outcome of a battle in order to take advantage of their weakness and consider one own corresponding strength and weakness. It is not only necessary to have insight into what the enemy might be trying to do, but it is also important to take into account factors such as the atmosphere, climate, and morale of the troops. To achieve a full understanding of the world in which they operate, general managers and strategists must go deeper and seek to evaluate the tactics and plan of rivals. A more productive business strategy can be established by recognizing this, taking into account the pattern and demographic goals within that framework. The next benefit is strategic planning. One of the strategic planning is building defense against external force. One of the reasons analysts have noted is that manufacturing firms frequently struggle to adjust their strategies to the unique environment of emerging markets, leading them to failure as a result of this error. Managers should also have a high degree of flexibility to deal with the changing complexity in the market in order to adapt tactics in order to adapt tactics to remain successful. So the last benefit is create a unique plan. Plan in more detail or more creative than anyone else. If you really want to succeed, you should plan in a way that is either more detailed or more creative than anyone else. It is not enough to have a unique idea. Plan also must be hidden by means of deception. Sun Tzu claims and that a plan must also be hidden by means of deception. For example, if a general was planning an attack from his left side by using decoys on his right, he would confuse the enemy, which would make it look as if the attack come from the right. Ideally, an army should also be in continuous motion in order to appear without shape. In the corporate world, deception is popular as well. Large corporate monopolies will also take steps to appear smaller, while small start-up will say that even though they may not be at that point, yet they are transforming the world by the uniqueness of their creativity. Corporate mission and corporate organization method must be structured to build a sense of pride, belonging, and intent in the employees' personal mission for them to work towards the common objective. Many companies do this by providing material incentives such as a raise, an annual bonus, or recognition, rewards such as promotion and assigned liability. The most undisputable way to ensure a sustainable and a successful business is by having a unified and cohesive group of employees striving towards the same goal and motivated by the same factors.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Ahmad Takiuddin bin Sanadi, and my metric number is 259276. And I'm going to talk about the criticism of the management theory about the Art of War written by the Sun Tzu. So there are a few criticisms that have been put to the Art of War that Sun Tzu have wrote about more than 2,000 years. So firstly, war is a bad business metaphor, mostly because war is a best or a proposal that is win-loss. The purpose of war is not to redistribute existing value, but to generate value. More frequently, fighting is an operation that destroys value. So we can say that basically war is just giving destruction to the society. They give less benefit to the society. It is different and contradict from the how businesses operate, because we can see that businesses giving benefit, especially when there is a good competitive market, it will develop several products and services that will give benefit to the customer, which is we can see fighting, war, and also business are different, very different. So that's why the criticism put or saying that when don't compare between the business and the war, even though they seems like more likely to be related, but to say in terms of the value giving after the war and also the value giving by the businesses are very different, which war only to destroy, and also and businesses are giving benefit to the society. Then we move to the second issue, is the centrality of deception in Sun Tzu writing. Deception is a rational strategy in a purely distributive one-time transaction like war. However, many businesses transactions are not one-time meeting, but ongoing relationship between firm and its supplier, or an employee and his or her employee. So when we say about war, it is okay to we say deceive your enemies, or you cheat on your enemies, because it only to determine whether you are win or lost. But different from the war, from business perspective, you need to gain trust from the customer, especially you need to gain trust from your supplier, you need to gain trust from your employee or employer too, because without the trust, it will be difficult for the business to operate as usual, because in nowadays businesses, supplier give their own part, customer also giving the very essential part of the business. Without customer, there will be no businesses, and also employee also giving the significant amount of contribution in the business. So without either one of these is missing, like the business didn't have the trust from each part, then the business are more likely to be not achieve the goal of their organization. Then we move to the conclusion. As the conclusion, we must know about ourselves and competitors, learn about their rules and regulation. So this is where we should come out, or we should learn to understand about ourselves, to understand about the competitors, understand about their games. Without knowing about their games, then it will be give us more problem, rather than we study about them and we become more confident to operate the business. And then Sun Tzu also emphasized the critical role of people in determining the success of military warfare, and the same will apply to business. If there is no confidence in winning, one should retreat at once, reserving energy and resources for the next opportunity. So as I said before, we have to learn, we have to understand not only ourselves, also the competitors. So when we understanding the environment, the business environment, the industry, the competitors, who are our competitors, what their strong and weaknesses, and also we see the problem in ourselves, we see the advantage that we have as a business entity. So then we will become more capable, or maybe determination to be success, because we understand how the game are played in the industry. We know who are the players, and we can decide whether a good strategy to be played, because without a strategy in the business also be pointless to continue the business in the future or now. And lastly, as part of business war, the top management needs to formulate strategy in the understanding of both favorable and unfavorable development in the external environment. So this is the role play by the top management. They have to understand, they have to lead the company, the business into the destination, or when the decision that they have made, it will be affect the whole company or the businesses. Because we cannot say that employee are going to destroy the businesses. No, it's actually the decision making made by the top management will shape how the company or businesses are going to be. That's all from our group. Thank you very much.